with white helmets on, with overcoats, thousands of people taking home money for their families. Thousands of people, to be honest, who in other forms, if this form of work was not there, possibly wouldn't have a job. There is real dignity in what we do. It is better to be better at what you're good at than trying to conjure up skills that we know other nations have an intrinsic advantage in. We are good at agriculture. We are good at employing people in agriculture. We are good at research and development in agriculture. We have the highest yields of cotton in the world. We attain some of the highest prices for agricultural product in the world. We are known for our beef throughout the world. We are known for, and people aspire to our branding because they see it as a quality product that they wish to buy. And in recent times, the largest proportion of growth and employment in this nation has been in agriculture. But unless you have the farms that are producing the product, then all else that follows is naught. Agriculture is a noble pursuit. It does not benefit from the weakness of others. It does not leave people diminished. It is the essence of what feeds and clothes them. As such, agriculture must not only economically be a pillar of the economy, but morally is a pillar of the economy. As it is fundamentally tied to the future of our nation, it is my belief that it should remain overwhelmingly and unambiguously the domain of the Australian farming family. The Australian farm owned by mums and dads like you. This is not only my desire, but overwhelmingly the desire of people from Blacktown to Geelong. To this purpose, we have reduced the level at which an individual must report to the Foreign Investment Review Board when they purchase land if they come from overseas. It will go from its current level of $252 million non-cumulative. That means that currently a person from overseas could buy a $250 million property every day of the week and never have to tell anybody about it, to $15 million, and that is cumulative. So if you buy a $14 million place one day and you desire to buy a $2 million place the next, it's not that you will be rejected, but it must be reviewed. The alternate government, the Labor Party, in some mysterious diversion, have said that the level should go from $252 million to a unilateral level of $1,000 million. Now, whether you're in Blacktown or Boulia or Ipswich or Bawarrina, this idea is overwhelmingly rejected by the Australian people. One of the greatest attributes our nation has is a clean, green image. This is a selling point, not only in Australia but overseas. In many countries that I've gone to, the reason the Australian product is preferred is not because it is cheaper, because it is not. It's because it is cleaner. Recent events have highlighted this in even clearer focus. The Australian people have asked for, and we will deliver, a clearer country of origin labelling system. A system that is diagrammatic, simple, reflects the proportionality of what is in the packet, removed of fillers such as water, and also is compulsory. Current ambiguities, such as made in Australia from local imported ingredients, or made in Australia when it's not actually come from this nation at all, will be removed as a source of confusion for the consumer. For our nation to take the next step, we must invest in the infrastructure that underpins it. And this task has already started. The previous coalition government put $10 billion on the table for the refurbishment of the Murray-Darling Basin. And you can go now to places such as the Macquarie Valley and see this immense investment already paying dividends in straightened channels, in telemetric measuring, in taking away the absorbance so that the water that's there is the water you can use, and better irrigation plans. You can go to Mildura and see investments well in excess of $100 million in new lift pumps for more effective watering. You can go the length and breadth of the Murray-Darling Basin and see pivots, laterals and trickle irrigation taking the place of flood irrigation. You can see that investment also in other ways, such as the better yields that we are getting for cotton. If you can get more cotton from an acre of land, then inherently that is also a water saving. We invest around $700 million a year in research and development in agriculture. We make sure that our genetics remain at the forefront globally. Anecdotally, as an example of this, and recently, I was part of an announcement of $15 million to keep PhD students involved in Toowoomba at the GRDC. This process follows in the footsteps of Farah and developing better disease resistance and high yielding strains of grain. Dams are being constructed, from Chaffey Dam in the north to the most recent $200 million investment in water infrastructure in Tasmania. This will continue to be rolled out in short order. The Green Paper on agriculture has been through Cabinet, and the White Paper is imminent. The Northern Australian White Paper intersects these two and likewise will soon be released. People might ask, why have these not been released sooner? And there's a simple answer to that. We want these documents to be formidable. We want them to make a difference. We want them to be beyond merely motherhood statements that adorn so many shells and crevices, collecting detritus, living obscurus per obscurum, until they are finally shredded, purposeless and unread. Ladies and gentlemen, I see this job as an incredible honour. I grew up on a farm. I was one of 6 kids. My father in his 90s and my mother in her 80s still live on the property. I own a property myself. I don't see this as a conflict of interest. I see this as real motivation. I've made it my objective not to live or die to be a politician, but to be judged as having made a difference. I am so proud that this government because I believe for once is actually doing that. I get a sense of real purpose when I stand next to a Prime Minister who actually wants to do something. He's going to break away from what merely keeps him in a job and do that which, if we are forgotten, leaves our nation in a better place. I believe that is the essence of a purposeful life. My goal in agriculture is to make sure that whoever comes next, and I hope that is not imminent, that they have a foundation to further build on. So the great and unending work of building a stronger Australia, a country which can support itself, feed others, sustain what we believe is morally proper, and to be a beacon to others in the rest of the world continues unobstructed. Thank you very much for your attention. All the best and God bless.
Minister, thank you. What an impassioned case for agriculture this morning. In a moment, I might change spots and go over to a microphone there and help direct traffic. The good news is we have got plenty of time for questions this morning, so I'd ask you to come forward to the microphone points that are in the aisle and indicate that you're keen to ask a question, and I'll take you in due course. I might break the ice first, though, because nobody likes breaking the ice, but Minister, it was an impassioned case for agriculture. You talked about agriculture being a noble profession. You made the case for the family farm in no uncertain terms. It was interesting. ABC Rural did a lot of coverage about the announcement recently. Surprisingly, there was a lot of reaction on the other side of the question from people around the country, particularly in Western Australia, with farmers saying, look, hang on, yeah, it's an issue, but is it that big an issue? So that is my question to you. How important is the question of foreign ownership, and do we really need to have strong controls?
Well, obviously, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be putting my endeavours towards it. You must be a reflection. You must always be a reflection of what your constituent is asking for and put it through the filter of what is right and proper for the nation. But if I always base this on, I'll base this on 2 principles. I remember even in Queensland, in the town where I lived prior to moving back home to Tamworth, I said, show me the register that you have of foreign-owned land in this district. And I got one. And the obvious one was there, obviously Cubby Station. And there was the section of it. But I knew full well that that wasn't a complete register. I knew because I was an accountant in the town where the other properties were that were either owned via trusts or owned by other mechanisms which were owned overseas. So even in a place where we're supposed to have transparency, it wasn't. The record was not complete. I'll back it up with another conversation I had with a real estate agent merely last week, where he said to me, before I was in politics, I was known as Joycey. He knew me from a long time ago. He said, Joycey, I like you and I hate you. I tell you what I like about you is all the tyre kickers out there who've been wandering around, not wanting to close on a deal, they're rushing in, they're closing. They're closing on the deal and they're settling. He said, that's good. He said, but I imagine when it's passed that this will sort of create more caution in the market. But then he said something to me, he said, I think you will be overwhelmed. He said, because I know what around this district I have sold, and I have sold heaps. And it's not just the size of, it's not just a number. The ABS statistics, which I think are way below what the actual truth is, because, to be honest, a lot of people, they just don't bother filling out the ABS statistics if they don't think they want their story told. And I think it's just a little over 80% actually return the ABS forms. But on those statistics alone, it's about 2.3 times the size of Victoria is either now totally foreign-owned or partially foreign-owned. Now that in itself should ask some questions of us. And we will remain the most liberal nation on earth for investment. I had a meeting with ASEAN ambassadors last week, and we had this discussion. They were quite upfront about it. But my retort was this, well, can I invest in your respective countries in the way you can invest in mine? And the answer is overwhelmingly no, you can't. In some instances, not allowed to buy land at all. Now, this doesn't mean that we have a right to the Australian people to make sure that we have got proper transparency and proper control of their most vital asset, the land that they stand on. And if that brings me into conflict with certain sections, then so be it. That is it. As I've said before, this is more than just an economic argument. Because if you just want a purely economic argument, then we can go through a whole range of things. I mean, why do you need healthcare? Why do you need childcare? We can have a whole range of economic arguments and completely change the dynamics of what this nation is. And it would be economically feasible. As an accountant, it would be economically prudent. I will save you. If you want me to be a purist accountant, I will save this nation a lot of money. And you will find the consequences lying on the street within a matter of years. But we are more than that. We are more than just purely an economic principle. We are a nation. And as a nation, we must look forward to the future of our nation. And of course, we must indelibly have control and understand and respect, and in times as required, protect the interests of our nation, because it is more than just the commissions of this generation that need to be looked after. It is our nation in the future that must be protected.
Minister, a question to your right.
Yeah, g'day. Barnaby, Dave Brownhill, farmer on Liverpool Plains. I congratulate your government on making all the commodity prices go up. A slight long bow. I'm hoping that I can make the Australian cricket team beat New Zealand sometime soon. But my question to you is, and I agree with everything you've said, and especially your last sentiment, but if we're going to look after agriculture, and you probably know where this question is going to come from, Liverpool Plains is a magnificent farming area. Mm-hmm. All farmers think they live in the best farming area. But I would argue, having travelled most of the world looking at farming, that Liverpool Plains is in the top 10 places to farm in the world. Why are we going to get it mined?
Sure. I'm going to answer your question in seriatim. The first part is, I don't for one moment claim that the government is the sole responsibility for the increase in prices. However, it's vitally important that you understand the role the government has played to that purpose. We talk about the 3 free trade agreements, and of course they've been signed for China, for Korea and for Japan. But besides that, and without people watching, we've also opened up the live trade into Egypt, Bahrain, Cambodia, Thailand, Lebanon, and after 4 decades, Iran. And if I'd wanted the support of the economic purists, I'd say when the emails turn up to my office, as they do by the thousands, asking for these trades to be closed down, for us to pull back, to us to not participate in our region as a Southeast Asian, but to start participating in our region as still some enclave of Europe, then I'd say that that's where you should put your shoulder to the wheel. Make sure that we remain engaged in those markets, understanding our customer and trading with our customer. To the next part of your question, David, in regards mining, as you're well aware, merely 2 days ago, I took Greg Hunt to the Liverpool Plains, and in dealing, taking to those farmers, those ones with the most inherent concern, I said, I'll take